For this week's podcast, I wanted to have a conversation about raking leaves, cleaning up, and starting fresh for a new season. Last week I got out and I was raking up my back leaves, something that I have to do in the spring. I also usually in the spring like to wash all of my windows inside and out. I also like to do a deep cleaning in my house around the baseboards. Don't always do that, but that's what I want to do. And really get going for spring. When I think of spring, I think of a fresh season. It's time, the leaves start coming back on the trees. It's time for a fresh start. And I actually think of that more than I do for like New Year's or New Year's resolutions. So raking up the leaves. And I'm thinking about the back. I've raked up the leaves. You can see the ground again. You can see the little sprigs of grass or weeds that don't grow very well out there. So I have to use the weed eater to whack them off a few times during the summer. But, it looks fresh. It looks clean. It's a fresh start. It's time for the new season. As I get looking at my flower pots in the back, I go out again and look for plants that grow well in the shade, because when the trees are in full leaf, there's not much sun back there. And so I plant new plants, and it looks real good, for a few weeks. By the end of the summer, it's all, they've had it because it's gotten too hot or I didn't water enough or something like that. I also in the spring look around my house and look for things that need to be done. Last spring, I wanted to repaint the interiors of my house. It's been 12 years since I painted everything and moved in here, and it really, really needs something. There were renters in here that had destroyed the place, and so I worked just to make this livable so that I could move in it. And so I just went through and painted the whole house same color. A medium gray, and I was in a hurry. And if you look close, you can still see where, it didn't cover so well in that spot. So I really did want to do that. As I look around, remember the 7-day freeze? I know that's been several years ago now, but with the 7-day freeze, I had a pipe burst on the back. So I had a plumber out to work on that, and it's like, you know what, I really do want to replace all the toilets in my house. So I went and got 3 toilets and used the same plumber who fixed the burst pipe on my backyard to go ahead and replace my toilets. Well, he replaced all the toilets, but then all the cutoff valves leaked, and I ended up with a mess in my living room ceiling, even though I, very quickly said, "Oop, there's water." And so then the plumber came out and he replaced all the cutoff valves, and everything's fine. It all dried out, but there are a couple of seams that I can see now in my ceiling, and that's bugged me. It's bugged me. But it hasn't bugged me quite enough to get it fixed. And part of the problem is, it's like, okay, if I'm going to get someone to come in and do some repairs on the sheetrock of my living room ceiling, I don't want that half wall there by the piano going up the stairs. I want that taken out. One of my neighbors who has the same floor plan, well, almost the same floor plan, took that little half wall out, and it just looks so much better. So it's kind of like, okay, do I pay someone to come in and fix the sheetrock on the ceiling and then not do the other things that I want? No, let's do this. Let's do it all. And then we had the hurricane last year, and the hurricane from the south winds coming from here shook my house so much that in my bedroom, right at the very top of the wall where the sheetrock meets the ceiling, there's a crack down the whole side. And it's from the winds shaking that side of the house. I'm convinced of it. So I need to go through and I need to scrape that corner. And then if you do that, then you got to paint. And really the whole thing will have to be painted, because in 12 years, the paint that's on the walls will have faded or aged, and so it's not going to match. And so I really kind of wanted to tweak the color through my whole house. I'm looking for that fresh start, So whether you're raking leaves or doing your spring cleaning, you're getting ready for a fresh start. And as I was thinking of that in the last several days, I'm really thinking, We kind of do that in our own lives. There are, like, I've got these little projects that I need to do, but I just keep putting them off. It says, well, if I do this, then I have to do this. And I've got all of these projects that I really should do to freshen up my house and make it fresh, make it more presentable, get a nice fresh start here in my home. But we kind of do that in our own lives. Are there some things that you would like to change in the way that you're living, but yet you keep putting it off, or you don't make that full solid commitment and you just don't dig in there and actually get this fresh start that you're really needing? And I think we need to do that, whether we're looking at our own personal lives, or if we're looking corporately, if we're looking in the organizations with which we belong, in our churches and our Sunday school classes, and in our groups within our church. Do we need a fresh start in some ways? And if we do, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do it? Why don't we rake up all those dead leaves, get down to the bare ground, put in some fresh plants, have a fresh start? And there are some things that I've been thinking that I would like to change in my own life, but I've been reluctant to just say, well, you kind of feel like you need to do this. Why don't you just do it? And a lot of people do this in January. I don't really make New Year's resolutions in January. Every year I say I'm going to lose weight, but I don't really. For me, while I'm out raking the leaves, I'm thinking about that fresh start in my yard. I mean, when I have to trim all my bushes, I have to cut all my ground cover off at the ground because it froze and it's going to grow back. Um, why don't we do our fresh starts in March? You know, um, at the time I'm actually filming this is Ash Wednesday. I realize this won't be released till the following week, but isn't Ash Wednesday when we try to focus on the Easter season? We begin thinking about that 40-day preparation before that. Isn't that a time to make changes or refocus or have that fresh start? Isn't that a time about springtime? Isn't that time about springtime? And so that's kind of the conversation that I'm having with myself, and I'm blessing you with some of my thoughts today as I'm thinking just about this fresh start. I'm looking into the future where even as a country, we're going to have a fresh start again. I'm thinking of a sermon I heard this last week um, uh, from one of my friends, Jeffrey, where he talked about, we need to understand the difference between infinite and finite. Finite, there's a beginning, there's an end. So we're looking at this mess right now in our political turmoil. Yeah, there was a beginning to this mess, and there's going to be an end of this mess. This is not going to last forever. Now, there might be consequences. It'll take us a long time to get through, but this is going to end. This is going to end. Um, the politicians that are leading our country into the toilet right now, they will die eventually. They are going to die. They're not going to live forever. So this mess politically will end. It will come to an end. But where what is infinite, or what should be infinite, is our hope. And that was a very important message that we were able to receive, those of us that listened to um, Reverend Jeffrey Campbell preach to us. So we have a fresh start now. We don't have to wait. We don't have to wait 4 years. We don't have to wait for Donald Trump to die. We don't have to wait for him to die. We can have a fresh start with the things that we can do right now. And so there are some things that I can do focused on me. I can't control all these other crackpots out here. I can't control everybody in Washington, D.C. I can't. I cannot control what they're doing. I can control what it is that I do and what I don't do. And so getting more control of myself is probably a good thing. Like yesterday, I had too much sugar. I know I did. I had too much sugar and I felt ill. Well, how stupid is that? If I know too much sugar makes me feel ill, why did I do that? And so that is something that I can deal with. I can repaint the inside of my house. I could. I can wash all of these windows. When I put in my new windows, they all tilt and flip in, the bottom pane and the top pane. So even on the second floor, I can stand inside my house and wash all my windows. I raked up some leaves. I trimmed some shrubbery. The ground cover in my beds are flat and they're springing back to life. Those are things I can do. I can plant new plants. I can go out there 3 times a week and water them. Those are things I can do. I can exercise more. You know, I used to walk before the pandemic. I was walking Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the mall before it opened. And then the pandemic threw all that away. And then my mama moved here. And so then I started getting her walking as well. And then she's having some stuff with bone degenerative bone issues in her joints. So that's not really something that is always going to work for her. But I mean, I was walking by myself. Why am I not doing that now? Those are things I do. I can make these changes. I can make improvements into my simple little choices in living life. I can do something. I don't have to sit here and wait for 4 years or wait for Donald Trump and these other Republican leaders in Washington to die. I don't have to wait for them to die for life to move on. Okay? So I can do some things. And there are some things that I can do, and I need to focus on that. This is spring. This is a fresh start. It's time to rake the leaves, clean up our yards, have a fresh start, put out some new plants. That's going to be a fresh start. So join me in a fresh start, people. It is March. Join me in a fresh start. This podcast will come out on March 10th, I believe. So those of you that are part of the A-Leaf Independent School District, where I retired from for many years, they have spring break. So it's a good time to actually do some things. So whether you are off on a spring break, or you're thinking about your community on a spring break, or you're just thinking about, this is springtime, it's time for me to take a break and refocus and refresh. It's time to rake up those leaves. It's time to clean up. And it is time to, what was the third point? Rake the leaves, clean up, and have a fresh start. We can do this. We can do this. We don't have to be too discouraged to even climb our big fat selves out of the bed. We have got to live. And we have some control of our individual lives. There may be people trying to put control over us, but we can reject that. Rake the leaves. Rake the metaphorical leaves out of your life. Those dead leaves that are covering up the ground, get them gone. Clean up. Look around your house. What are the things that you need to clean up? I need to wash my windows. I need to start repainting the rooms. I mean, my house is basically divided into 4 quarters. There's an office and a bedroom upstairs, and then there's also the 2 bathrooms, but I attach those to those. Downstairs, there's the living room. There's the dining room, kitchen. So that's basically 4 rooms. I could do this in 4 weeks if I really wanted to. Look around your house. What things can you do? Get it done. Get it done. Get some positive energy going in your life. I don't like that statement, by the way, positive energy, but there is positive energy in doing something that's productive. So let's get active. Let's get productive. Make some changes in you as I work to make some changes in me. And together, we can change our world. One person at a time, even if the one person for me is just me and your one person is just you. Well, that's a start. That's a start. Spring. Rake them leaves. Rake up the metaphorical dead leaves off your ground. Clean up. Look around your house. Find something that needs to be cleaned up. Get a fresh start. We don't have to wait for our politicians to die. we can have a fresh start right now. Go get them. Yeehaw. How's that? It is rodeo week. Yeehaw. Go get them. Okay. If you enjoyed this podcast today, be sure to like, share, and subscribe because you never know what's going to come out next.